Robert Kirkman's going to leave us hanging in Black Panther 2099. Thanks for joining me today. My name is Daryl. I am the host of Read Your Comics, and I'm back with some Marvel Knights 2099. This was a mini event from Marvel to celebrate the 5-year anniversary of the Marvel Knights line, which was so popular that they had to put Joe Quesada in charge of the entire Marvel universe. And as an added twist, they decided to do these like 2099 takes on it. Now, it's not the same 2099 universe that premiered in 1990. In that facet of things, it's kind of a letdown because it would have been neat to see some of these characters integrated into that world. But that doesn't mean that Robert Kirkman doesn't deliver some really entertaining one-shots here. But the fact that they're one-shots is almost the disappointing part because Robert Kirkman sets up something here that, I'm going to be honest on the front end here, I wanted to see keep going. At least in this book and the Daredevil book that I covered last week. We'll see if it holds up for the rest of the line, but definitely in Daredevil and in this Black Panther, I wanted more. So since I'm going to go ahead and cover the rest of these, I made a playlist right here for 2099. I'm also going to include some other 2099 books as I do them in there. I already have an X-Men 2099 video from a while back I'll throw in there as well. So be sure to hit it up for any of the other episodes. If you missed any, so far, I've only done the Daredevil and then the Black Panther one, and as the rest of this month continues, I'll get the rest of them in there. Also, if you're new to the channel, be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss any future videos like this. If you like this top-down, page-by-page review format, then you're in the right place because that's what I do, and I love doing it. Now, before I jump into it, I do want to point out that these covers are kind of recreated homages to that first Marvel Knights line. So this is going to look like the Christopher Priest, Mark Texeira Black Panther run. And even on this cover, I'm going to kind of point this out throughout the book. My biggest critique, other than that it left me wanting more, is that it doesn't feel like it's in 2099. Now, these came out in 2004, so that's, less than 100 years away, but still, that original 2099 line put us in like a very futuristic Blade Runner type future. And even though this is a different world, nothing about this really feels like it's in the future so much. Other than that there's some legacy aspects going on here. So, the fact that it's 2099, take that in stride. It's really just kind of like the future. It's like one of those future Marvel books, almost like the, the MC2 line where Spider-Girl was from, or any of the other myriad of Marvel future timelines. So 2099 on this, kind of a gimmick, a nostalgia gimmick that doesn't quite fit. But let's jump into it. So as I said, Robert Kirkman doing the writing on all of these Marvel Knights 2099 books. Kyle Hotz is the artist on this. He gets a lot of comparisons to Kelley Jones, and I definitely see that in his work, although his figure work is maybe a little lankier than what I think of as Kelley Jones. It's distinct enough, but you can tell that they're definitely influenced by a lot of the same people, but Hotz is probably a little bit more heavily influenced by Kelley Jones himself. So all of these 2099 books have a opening page that just tell you the 2099 world we live in, and essentially Sentinels have taken it over and eliminated all of the superheroes. But that plays zero bearing on this book at all. Because we're going to jump into it and we find Dr. Doom right off the bat. And that's what's going to draw you into this issue. But like I said, this is something where putting that 2099 moniker on it is kind of a failing because this is obviously not Doom 2099 at all. What we see is like an aging Doom of some sort. We don't know if this is the original Doom or not. He looks old, but not necessarily overly scarred or anything. And he's calling somebody, says, "Do it, Lucian. One Doom, one legacy." And they're passing the mask off. And this Lucian character, who's also dressed as Doom, puts the masks on and kills the other Doom. So kind of a neat twist on the legacy of Doom there. I guess that kind of even leans into maybe like the Christoph version, that Doom is going to download his mind and his mantle to a new bearer of his choosing, and they will just become Doom after that. So the Lucian character now is Doom, and he comes out, and there's this other servant character is like, "Sire, you're up," because obviously this Doom had been in some, health trouble for a while. He says, "Yes, I am much recovered now. The invasion will proceed on the current schedule. Excellent, my lord." And then he looks in there and sees the fried body and says, "Lucian defied me for the last time. I have rid myself of him." So even though this is really Lucian who is now Doom, he's saying that the body that he fried was the Lucian. And it says, "Clean up this mess." So we got an interesting twist on Doom. Cut to a character who's taking on a panther, and it says, "The panther devours me, and I welcome it." And you wake up from a dream to this figure here who we're initially going to assume is like some descendant of T'Challa. At least that's what you would think in this type of a setup, right? But really what it turns out is that T'Challa had no heir. And when he died, there's just been this council in Wakanda put in charge of things. And this one guy, though, he kind of ruffles feathers because he thinks the council is just doing stuff for their own benefits and not necessarily in the better interest of Wakanda. And that Wakanda is actually in a little bit of decay over the years since T'Challa left no heir. And just when he's debating that, Doombots just flood in. And I mean, this is a great page here. I love the deep shadows and spotted blacks all across this page and the chaos that just ensues. And they put up no fight, really. So the one guy wants to fight back, but as he gets hit and he turns and sees that the other council members are just surrendering right off the bat. And I do love Hotz's Doom here. It looks insane. Look at this spread. This is awesome. So now these Doombots are just taking over Wakanda. And all this blue narration is coming from the character whose name it says at the beginning. I should have said it. His name is Kashamba, and he has a pregnant wife named Matola. So Kashamba, but like I said, he's not an heir of T'Challa. So all this narration is Kashamba, and he's saying that Doom took over Wakanda in a matter of 6 weeks. So then we cut to him returning home, and you think he's like escaped or something because his clothes are all ripped. And she says, "I thought he was holding the council members in the dungeon." And he says the Doom let him go because once Wakanda was conquered, there was really no need to hold him. And he feels like they're going to, instead of doing like a mass execution of all of them that would turn all the people, like really make them revolt, he thinks that they're just going to execute them one by one on the street. So he's telling his wife to grab all her stuff and try to make an escape. And as they do, they get stopped by some Doombots, and he takes one on, but he has no weapon. But this guy rolls up on a motorcycle. And again, this is where like there's no feeling that it's 2099 right here. This guy's just rolling up on an ordinary motorcycle. Everything of the skyline and stuff looks pretty, contemporary. Even this car that has these like crazy panels and stuff, that's not too out of the ordinary for a like modern Marvel universe of any time. So again, that's where like my critique is mostly just on the not really feeling like 2099, but I'm loving the art in this all around. Good perspectives, the shadows and stuff on him here. And notice how he's starting to wear like an all black suit. So it's already foreshadowing it as if the dream sequence at the beginning wasn't enough. He's already kind of wearing the Panther clothes. So he goes and he joins the Rebel squad. And then you get like a montage of them defeating Doombots, striking from the shadows and wearing them down. And within 3 weeks, this elder is saying, like, "You're really kind of the leader here. You need to be in charge." And he says, "I'll accept your offer. I will lead these people." More just great shots, details, detailed battles of, Doombots here fighting in the streets. I mean, it's really pleasant to look at. It really, truly is. And this is where you can see that it's not, I wouldn't call him a Kelley Jones imitator necessarily. Like, I see the influence, but I don't see Kelley Jones necessarily doing a page quite like this. Look at these Dooms. Look at the fire reflecting on his armor and stuff. So their rebel attacks are like making a dent, and Doom is not pleased. This is not going as planned. The mood in it is really good. Kashamba gives a rousing speech right here, and the elder comes out and says, "I've been saving this for a new warrior king. I can't think of a more worthy recipient." And here we are getting towards the end of the issue, and he pulls on a Black Panther cowl. Now, Christopher Priest had been doing a lot of world building in the main Black Panther title at this point. 2004, I guess he was still probably doing it, probably near the end of his run maybe, but not a lot of those aspects are reflected into this, and that's probably a good thing, because this does stand on its own so well without diving into some of the geopolitical aspects that Priest had introduced into the Black Panther mythos. So now we have like a couple good shots of Black Panther. So I wish we'd gotten a few more pages of him dressed as the Black Panther and fighting. And again, he's pretty much just wearing your typical Black Panther costume here. He's not 2099-ish at all. But it looks great, draped in these black shadows and stuff. You got kids throwing rocks at Doombots and them taking them on. Another quick montage of, pushing back the Doombots all across Wakanda. And with the inspiration of a new Black Panther leading them, he says it did not take 6 weeks to drive Doom's forces out of Wakanda. You see him flying away right there. Good shots here. I think one thing that I'm really liking is he does a pretty good job of backgrounds, even though this particular panel is just, some blue texture. But throughout the book, there's pretty solid backgrounds of smoke twirling and streets and so forth. And as they leave, she's had her baby, obviously, and the people are bowing down to their new king. Cut to Doom back in Latveria, and then his little henchman here that looks like Quasimodo is like gassing him up and saying, even though you were defeated, you stand with the air of victory about you. And Doom says the Latverian flag no longer flies over Wakanda, but my presence is there, unknown, unsuspected, and no less influential. In truth, I can think of no greater victory. Can you, Kashamba? And the twist is Kashamba is under the control of Doom. And as he says, "No, sire, I cannot," his wife asks him what he says. He says, "I said nothing. Nothing at all." And that leaves you hanging. I want more of this series. I want to see where this story goes. I want to see if he's able to break the control of Doom. And just, there's so many questions left here. It's a lot like the Daredevil book. If you didn't see that video, go back and watch it. It has a nice twist at the end too. And I liked that one. I liked the twist in it. I would have read more of it too. But this one really stuck with me after I read it for a couple of days. I'm thinking like, man, they could have done a series of this, at least gone probably 24, 30 issues before it started to feel stale. This was solid. I really enjoyed this. And you can see why at this period of time, Robert Kirkman was one of Marvel's go-to writers. And it's stuff like this that I think really pops off and shows his skill set. But that's all I got for this one. Really fun read. Solid art inside. If you run across it, definitely pick it up, especially if you're a Black Panther fan. Until next time, read your comics. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed my breakdown of this issue, you can support the channel by hitting subscribe. It costs you nothing and helps other comic fans find the channel. You can also visit readyourcomics.com for cool merch, like this. Read Your Comics isn't just a brand, it's a mantra. And when you wear a Read Your Comics shirt, you are helping spread the word. For more classic comics conversation, be sure to follow me on Instagram at read.your.comics. And if you're still here, why not watch one of my older videos? Here or here.